the greatest good for the greatest number, they're contradictory, what you're trying to do. This leads to, I think it was Derek Parfit who coined this, the repugnant conclusion. So what do? Let's say you have a society and people are at 100% happiness and there's 1 million people. Mm-hmm. What if I could snap my fingers and make it 2 million people at 99% happiness? Should I do that? Greatest good so we've taken the good down a little, but we have a greater number.
I see. Then it would seem yes.
Then how about 3,098%?
I see where this is going.
But then what if we get to, all right, but then eventually there's not really a stopping point. So what if, and the idea here is you get down to a point where life is still worth living.
Yeah.
I had a philosophy professor that called it Muzak and potatoes.
Okay.
That life, Muzak is like that elevator music you hear, and potatoes. And he said, and if you take away either the Muzak or the potatoes, they'll kill themselves. But as long as they have that, they still think life is worth living. Yeah. So you have 200 million people on Muzak and potatoes. Is that better than 1 million people with 100% happiness? The greatest happiness for the greatest number. So that's called the repugnant conclusion.
Okay.
So it's like, so it challenges your intuition that should be the standard for well-being. It's like, oh, but that leads to a repugnant conclusion. But then that leads to saying, okay, well, we want to have the highest average happiness instead of the totality, which can lead then to other things like, oh, well, if I'm going to do something that might cause temporary sadness for me, that will decrease average happiness, and so we ought not do that. Utilitarianism runs into a lot of problems like these because its central focus is about this kind of principle rather than persons and their ultimate good, which I think ultimately that a Christian worldview better explains that, God is our ultimate good, that we do have this desire for infinite happiness. It can't be satisfied in this life, but if we're ordered towards God and we live in accord with the natural law, we can have some semblance of that goodness and happiness, at least in this life.